So, here's what we got going on this week. I want to kind of keep you updated on, a few things that I have brought up in the last couple of weeks, such as my annuals. And, well, of course, there's always the birds, the tomatoes, the chipmunks. But I think this is also the week to do a little bit of work on the far end of the Palangeau Park. I've been really concerned about all of the buckthorn back there. And so I decided that it was time to take care of it. So we'll see how this is going to go, because there's a lot of it back there. And this is really kind of only step one anyway, but we'll see how it goes. So this is the area that I've been talking about. That's gotten a bit overgrown with so much of this buckthorn, which, as I mentioned before, if I don't take care of it, it is going to take care of me and take over this entire area. So kind of a two-step process with all of this. The first step is to kind of cut it down to a manageable height. And then what will need to be done is, to dig out sort of the baseline and the roots of some of these plants, some of these buckthorns that are back here. Again, they kind of go around the trail, so they're not really hurting anything. They're just going to grow a little bit too much, and I want to keep the park, as open as possible. So I went over to Home Depot today and bought this device. It is a cordless hedge trimmer. And I've had an equivalent, one of these. Actually, I had it a long time ago that had a cord, but based on where I need to do all of my trimming, it really needs to be cordless. Unfortunately, the battery only lasts 25 minutes, but I do have a couple of batteries, so we'll see how this goes. I've got my new hedge trimmer. And I've got an extra battery. Since this one only lasts 25 minutes, I'm going to need a second one. Unfortunately, this is the same one that our leaf blower uses, and the same one that the little edger that I use to trim this area. But, this is going to take a little more work, and so it may be more than an hour, in which case I will be out of juice from both of these things. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this first part actually went pretty well. You can see I was able to get this down to a fairly manageable length right here, but still a lot that I've got to do. So we're going to go a little bit further back and see if we can get some of that done beyond here before the battery runs out. Maybe see this looks a little bit better here. You may say, well, what are you going to do with this space now? Well, I don't know that I'm going to do anything with it this year yet. I've already, with some of the areas back there that I've showed you in the last few weeks, some of those, I have to find the right ground cover or some good shade plants, and it takes a little time for that to all grow. But what's going to end up happening with all of this, as I said, it's going to take some work to kind of get it to a point where this stuff doesn't grow here, which means I'm going to end up having to dig most of it up. So that's a whole other challenge. I still got a few other areas that I want to take care of back in here. So we will continue on here. By the way, you might remember that this area over here was where there were all those beautiful blue flowers in the spring, but you see, this is what it becomes later. So I've got more. Something else just to show you here. Fix my camera. There we go. Oh, I hear Wrigley barking. Maybe we'll be able to get him on camera today. People have been asking about Wrigley for weeks. This is like
I think it's called Solomon's seal. And for now, I'm going to pretty much leave that in this particular area. It's kind of pretty, but it does take over. But we will probably see what we can do with that a little bit later on. Take a look at what we did back here. As you can see, this is much more open than it was before we started. You can see further. There's much more sort of a clean line of kind of just low shrub. Even get to see some of the hostas and other perennials that have been put in here over time. But as I said, most of this, we got the Solomon stuff here. Got a hosta there. This is that big area that we took care of first. There's a few things that need to be done here. Here's a tree that is dead or about to die somewhere in here, and we've got to eventually take that down. Of course, this area over here is what leads to that new house that's being built. We're not going to do too much with that right now, if anything. But, as we go up the path over here, again, I think what you're going to see is, well, you can see much more of the Palangeau Park. And there's a lot of possibilities here for more plants, different kinds of plants, different kinds of things that will make it, more than just green, which I kind of prefer there to be a little bit of color throughout here. But I'm kind of glad that I bought that trimmer, because I think that it's going to do wonders back here and give me some further ideas of other things to do. So, kind of happy with where we're at the moment. Didn't get to see Wrigley though yet, if at all. So last week I showed you that Frank has got this new, series of contraptions that he uses to grow his tomatoes. Now, there was just one when we last saw it. There are now 4 that he can wheel around, and depending on, where the sun is at, he can put these things wherever they need to go. And, they seem to be doing pretty well, I have to say. I mean, compare this to, what's going on in the other garden. Although there's a couple that were already a little bit larger to begin with, so not sure. These up here are, they're doing pretty well, but I don't know, we'll see as the summer goes on. So these are the Asiatic lilies that I talked about that I planted about a week ago. And you can see, they're really very beautiful, but this one particular branch has come out and it looks like there is a hole. Now, there are chipmunks who live around here, and I think that's a chipmunk hole. So I got to deal with that somehow. Yeah. But the rest of it is still looking good. Well, some people may not like what I did here, but something had to be done for now, and that's not going to last. They'll go around it. And here we have the beginnings of the primroses, which are starting to bloom and will be all over this area in the next week or 2. Now, of course, the next thing I'm going to have to do is go in the house and make sure I didn't get any ticks on me. This is part of the tick season, so I got to look out for that. Fortunately, we're not quite at mosquito season yet. That is going to be starting, though, like any day now. And that makes working back here a real bear. So, you know, we'll see about that. But yeah, we got a lot done here.